So to get started, I will introduce today's presenter. So today we have Steffan Myers. He is the Public Affairs Manager for Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue. He is also the lead PIO on our RED incident management team, and he's been with the program since 2018. So with that, I will let you take it away, Steffan.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here with everybody, and thank you, Mariah. She's also going to help me out because the way I've got it set up, I can't see you, so she'll let me know if you have questions. Please put those in the chat or chime in. I'm happy to answer those as we move along. But as you can see from this, I mean, we're going to be talking about public information, but when you get down to it, it's about telling the story. Telling the story of our response, of this incident. The things that we respond to are going to come with a story. So how do we manage that and make sure that we have a positive outcome as a part of that? And also, I want to recognize that this is about representing our incident management teams and representing our departments. And that's an important privilege and role that we take on. So what I'm going to cover is first working with the community, then talk about working with the media, which I know you all are so excited to chat about and just love that experience. We're going to talk about where to find answers. So when you are needing information to distill to members of the community, how can you get those? And then also talk about the power of pictures and video. Why is this important? The first thing is that what we find is information brings a level of comfort and control to the communities that we serve. Armed with information, they feel like they can make decisions. They're a little bit more empowered than they were. And so whereas maybe they can't pick up the tools of the trade to help stop a fire or impact flooding in a major way, they can get information that they can distill to their community, to their families, to their friends. And that's important. The second thing is the power of stories. It can be great to put out information and say what's going on, but that is not as powerful as stories. Since the dawn of time, stories are what drive us as human beings, and those have absolute power in how things are understood and portrayed. I also want to hit that every interaction is an opportunity. Those stories are built up by experiences, and every time we interact with the community or anybody, whether it's a stakeholder, a partner, another team, those are opportunities to change that story. It also matters because guess what? For those of you that have been doing this for a while, you know certain zip codes and addresses quite well. And that's because we'll be back. In a lot of these communities, we've been there before. And so each time that we go is an opportunity to change the narrative in the story as they interact with the Oregon State Fire Marshal's office. But also we can change stories from the past. I know quite a few examples of where this regional or this team came in and they had a poor experience. And we have an opportunity to then change that for the positive, and I have seen that happen, and that's great. So every opportunity helps change that experience for the next time that we're there. And then for me, the most important is who we represent. We represent the incident, our incident management team, but we also represent our crews and the firefighters. And that's an important privilege for me to represent the hard work that they do. So the first thing I want to jump into is working with the community. So from a tactical standpoint, I think this hopefully speaks to what you already do, but I just want to emphasize it. The first thing is customer service. So whether you're on tactical patrol or you're just working within a certain neighborhood, that customer service in everything that you do and everything that you, whether you're putting a placard up and you can put it in a convenient spot or a really annoying spot on somebody's mailbox, those are the small things that add up to good customer service. Being thoughtful, thoughtful of what other people in the community need as you're working within it, and what they're going through during that time. That also leads to empathy. I think it's really important that we understand the emotional experience that that community is going through, and how that may impact how they're coming at you in a rushed, hurried, excited, or even agitated state of being, and how empathy can help us bring that situation to maybe a more positive or a calmer place. I think all of you embody this philosophy, but it's important for us to leave everything better than we found it. Whether it's somebody's home that we're prepping, or it's just equipment that we're taking care of and areas of which we're working at a fairgrounds, etc., leave it better than we found it. And then always let's shoot to aim above expectations. All these little things add up to changing the story of what our firefighters and what our incident management team is all about when they come into a community. Now, inquiries are when community actually asks us, hey, what's going on? What can you tell me about the fire? So the first thing is, if you have information, share it. Say what you know. That's good. We want information to get out there. To get back to what I said before, that brings comfort, that brings control. But never make it up. If you don't know, if you're not sure, don't stretch it. Don't make up something or lie. You always want to say instead, I don't know the answer to that, but I'd be happy to find somebody that could, and follow up with you on that information. And if you do, make sure that you actually follow through. So whether it's giving them the information line for fire information, or getting their name and number, make sure that you get that to somebody who can follow up and answer their questions. Getting back to customer service, these are the little things that we do that I know make a huge difference. There's so many times where I get a name and a number of somebody who wanted to know a little bit more about a placard, where the community meeting is, evacuation levels, etc. And I call them back and they're like, oh, I didn't think anybody was actually going to call me. Well, simply those little steps that we do make a huge impact and are important. And then once you start knowing where to find information, direct them towards it. Whether it's maybe there's the fire information line, maybe there's an email, maybe we have a Facebook page, or maybe you've got the INSEE information. Direct them towards those resources, not only to answer their question, but so that they can find updates in the future regarding the incident. Then the last one is working within the community. This is when we're not working in the field, or on the fire ground, but instead we're in their community. And I think the first thing for me is remembering we are guests. We're guests of that establishment and community. So I want to operate as such. Whether I'm having dinner or I'm at the store, I realize I'm a guest of that community, and it's important for me to always handle myself with respect. And then the final, or the other piece is, and I like to imagine in this community, if my family lived here, what would I expect? Uh, let's say bootleg fire, for instance. We've got 2,500 people that are just jumping into your community. Well, I would hope that they would drive with respect and as if their family was being raised here. So it's just making sure that we understand that we're visitors of that community. And then be available for questions. If you're pumping up gas, or if you're at the supermarket, have your head up, smiling, connecting, and be available, so that when somebody sees Oregon State Fire Marshal's office, or they see Albany Fire or Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue on your insignia, that they want to go up and talk to that person because they have information, versus your head down and not wanting to connect with the community. And then bring that friendly and that warmth. When you do connect with them, going back to that empathy, understanding what they're going through, and just that little bit of information, or just listening to someone, can just change their attitude towards how this incident is going and whether they think our introduction into the community has been a success. Now, working with the media, I can tell you, I know a number of extremely brave individuals that are happy to run into a house that is on fire, but would rather do that 3 to 4 times in a row than have to get in front of a camera and work with the media. So I'm hoping that this will help you understand a little bit more about them. Their goal is to inform the public. So whatever you think their thing is, spinning, whatever, I'll tell you, I was working with a lot of these individuals in journalism school, and their goal is just to tell stories that inform their public. Okay, they want to make sure they have the facts right, they are credible, and that their public that they're writing for trusts them to give them good information. And that's part of telling that story. So they want to be able to paint a whole picture. For those that actually can't be there at an incident, they're trying to bring that story together so that you understand all the different players that are going on. If you're reading that newspaper, you're listening to a radio update, or you're watching evening television. They have deadlines. They are under extreme pressure to make sure that all the information they've gathered, the video they've shot is all packaged and ready to go by a certain deadline to air. And that puts a lot of pressure on a lot of them. They're also looking to find new angles. Again, some people perceive this as spin, but really they're just trying to tell a different way to tell the same story. Whether it's, oh, hey, here's an interesting fact of a Puerto Rican fire crew that's actually on this fire. That's an interesting angle of how far people are traveling to help work on this incident. So they're trying to find new ways to explain all the things that are coming to bear on an incident. And they want to have access to inform the public, and they want to do that with visuals. So they are trying to get video, they're trying to get pictures, so that the public who can't be there understand what's going on. Now, our goal, you might see, actually overlaps in a lot of ways. Our goal is to provide information to the public. We want them to be informed on what's going on with our incident, and we want to tell the story of what we're doing. We want people to understand from the moment we arrive to all the actions that are taken, what's the story of how we are trying to mitigate this emergency. Then we want to highlight successes. We want to find what's working out there, what are moments that really tell the community and the public that we are making a positive impact. And for us, we want to control the narrative. We want to be in front of rumors. We want to be in front of when things go sideways. And we want to try to bring that back to telling the story of that incident as we believe is factual and accurate. And that's important. So what are the factors in success in meeting our goal and working with the media? It's giving them timely and accurate information. I'm a public information officer, that's my job, but at times you may be called upon to do an interview and making sure that your information is accurate, maybe vetted with a PIO. That's going to be really important. Customer service. I can't tell you how many times I've had a reporter that treats a different agency in a poor way and treats my agency in a really good way. And the difference there is customer service. They get a call back from us right away. If they need information, we are willing to go find resources for them. And we get up at 3 a.m. to answer that page to get them whatever information they need. That customer service that I know that you all exemplify, we have to do with the media as well, because that changes our ability to have positive interactions and control the narrative. Part of that is being available. So part of that is for us is making sure that they know how to get a hold of us. For you, it's about when on my next point, where they want to see the people that are doing the work and they want to show the work that's being performed. So there's going to be times when I need you to be available because we're going to be showing how we prep a home. We're going to show all the effort that maybe we did to wrap a communications tower that was critical to the infrastructure of that area. We want to show what they're doing, and they want to talk to you. I hate to admit it, but they really don't want to talk to me. I just have a lot of facts and information. I don't have a lot of soot on me. I wasn't actually out there doing the work that you do. So know that they want to hear from your perspective what's going on out there, what that first person perspective was, whether we were affecting rescue or we were doing preparation work. They want to talk to you. But the other factor of success is staying in our lane. If all of a sudden we're talking about evacuations, if all of a sudden we're talking about things that are more pertinent to the Oregon Department of Transportation or other agencies, we are going to go sideways and it's not going to go well. I can tell you from experience, it can get off course really quickly. So we need to stay in our specific lane of what our agency does and what we're there and our delegation of authority requires of us. So where to find meeting? So in trying to stay informed while you're at an incident, the first one obviously is morning briefings. If you have questions, if you have something that you need to ask, communicate with the PIOs, grab them at morning briefing or find out from your leader how to get information or how to get the fire information line. And don't be afraid to reach out. We want you to be informed. We are there to make sure that you're successful. So if you need information before you go out to X community, please ask, and we'll be happy to provide that. Fire information always sets up a phone line and an email address at incidents. So whether it's us or we're in a joint or a unified command situation, we're going to have that information line. And for me, I always try to make sure that that does get on the IEP. So if they call that out, know that page is a great place to turn and share that with the community and let them know here's how you can get further updates or whatever answers that you're looking for the questions that you have. We also set usually up a Facebook. The PIOs create that. We don't utilize it at every incident because we don't want to stand up Facebook pages for every community. And some of them, if you're in Central Oregon, for instance, they have their own social media and channels to put out information. But there are elements of social media and websites that are utilized in putting out information. InstaWeb, it can sometimes lag a little bit in updates, but it is a tried and true information source that is great because it's not just for the state of Oregon, it's for all over. And so it's a nice universal place that we've trained a lot of people to go to find information on what's happening. And then finally, specific to us for the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office, on the placards that we put around at communities, there's the QR code. And the QR code takes them to information they can find. So they just have to shoot that QR code with their phone, and then they can have information there. It's also available to you. So if you're looking to have a little bit more talking points and information as to why we're putting these placards up, that's where you can find more information in going into this upcoming and future fire seasons. So the last thing I wanted to say was the power of pictures. So 2 pictures here in the top right corner. We've got the Grandview fire in the bottom, somewhere in the Dalles. And pictures are really powerful. Okay, so what I want to convey to you is that if we can get those pictures, it helps us tell the story, control the narrative, and bring comfort and control to people as to what's going on out there. We get to, and I want to see people doing work. So when I also talk about pictures, I want to make sure you understand people don't want to see fire, just fire. Okay, I know we all get excited and interested by that, but the public wants to see firefighters. They want to see the people that are working to stop the fire, not just ooh, cool fire. So action, movement, people actually out there doing and performing work, those are the pictures that are powerful, and also shows, by the way, that the agency that's being paid and brought in to work in that area is working. And so that's really important when it comes to pictures. Now, how do we move those around? So pictures, if you can get those to the PIOs, that can happen through the email, or you can even stop by Fire Information, and we've had people airdrop them. But that email is going to be the best way to send in some pictures and say, hey, I got some great pictures today. Then we can share them on our channels. Or if you are interested, we can approve them for use. So if PIOs, we're going to take a look at it, make sure that there's nothing that's either going to get your crew or the agency of which we represent in trouble. We put that filter through, and then we can say, hey, this is approved for use. And I really do want to encourage you that share those locally. Send them back to your PIO or your chief or whoever back home posts on your social media and websites so they can see what their crews are doing across the state. And I can tell you that's really important because then when they're asking for task force and stuff, they're like, oh, we get even a little bit extra return on our investment for that time because those get to get those pictures of our crews working, we get to share locally. So after you've gotten that approval, do that. And then once you do have approval, you can share those on your social media. I will say that with that, while that is approved, I would much rather personally you share it with your agency and then share those posts of you guys working. That way it stays in a little bit more of a channel. And I think it's better to show a representation of your agency versus, you know, hey, here's a cool selfie of me over here. We have to be thoughtful of how that stuff is perceived. And I think, you know, again, our comportment and how we're perceived by the public is really important. So if it's not showing us doing work, but instead just hanging around at a fire, we need to think about how that looks. And while that may be in your personal social media, sometimes those can get out and shared. And again, that gets back to the important point of controlling the narrative and telling the story. So with that, I will unshare. I'm all done with the presentation.
Great. Thank you so much, Stefan. Does anyone have any feedback or questions or anything they'd like to share relevant to the topic? Oh, I've got a chat question. As a task force leader, how can we prepare ourselves better for the possibility of having to do a TV news interview? I ran into this last year at Grandview. I feel it went well, but was caught off guard when asked to do this with the task force.
Yeah, so great question. I mean, for me, I want to set you up for success. Okay. So the first thing is making sure you're prepped to speak to one specific thing. And so my work, I just want you to know behind the scenes, I'm going to talk to that reporter and I'm going to make sure that they understand, hey, this task force leader, this person that we've gotten to speak, they're working specifically on this thing of which you're interested in, so that it's very specific. The second thing is I'm going to prep with you. And so what I'm going to throw out to you is if you haven't, or if somebody's like, hey, go do this interview, but they haven't talked to you about what you're going to say, or maybe even ran by your talking points with you, you're not being set up for success. So ask questions. Say, hey, so here's what I'm thinking of talking about. And then let's just run it. And that way I'll tell you, my first interview is always my worst interview. But by my second, my third, I start finding my feet. So let's get rid of the bad interview first and do it between us before you go on TV and have to do it. But those would be the things that I think are important. Some logistics one, no sunglasses if you're not making eye contact with the news reporter or with the camera. It just doesn't look good. Spit out anything that's in your mouth, gum, whatever. And then hats, make sure if you can put your hat up, you don't look like, Darth Vader in the dark here. Those are just some specific things that can make you look a little bit better and have it go well. The final thing would be also when you do an interview, you're going to usually be talking to the reporter and not the camera. So just have a conversation with that individual versus doing the jump back and forth, because that'll start to throw you off and it takes your mind away from just having a conversation with my friend. Oh, sorry. And one last one is do the interview and answer the questions so that your aunt or your grandma back home would understand it. Don't use language that sounds really cool to those that are on the task force with you. Use language that anybody in the community would understand as to what you're doing.
Good tips. Thanks. He shared that it was about structure prep. So
Ooh, exciting.
that last tip is probably super helpful in that, right? You don't want to be using firefighter speak when really you're talking to the general public. Great.
One last thing that always helps is tie it into why it's important, right? So we can talk about all the technicalities of structure prep, for instance, right? But why is it important to you that we're doing this? And don't be afraid to say that. Just say, hey, this is the work we do because it's really important to me that we protect your home, so that when that fire comes through, we have every opportunity of saving it. That's important to me and my crew as we want to protect your family.
Any other questions from anybody online? Casey would like to know how to contact you.
Oh, anytime. Here, I'll put my phone number and email in the chat. How's that?
Great. Okay, well, thanks everybody so much for joining us today, and for your dedication to the cause. And thank you so much, Steffan, for doing this presentation for us today. I really appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Have a good day, everybody.